Good morning, everyone. We are the Internationals. My name is Yer, and I will be today's moderator. This is Luis, this is Janessa, and this is Richard. Today, we will be discussing our two projects, Networking Made Easy and Fun. And for the first segment, we will be comparing and contrasting the two events. So, panel, what did you guys think about the two events that we had?
For me, I thought that both events were successful regardless of the turnout, just because the turnout for the first event, there was about 24 people or more, and then for the second event, there's about 10 people, I would say. But regardless of the turnout, I think it's successful just because students, according to the questionnaire, were still able to network with each other, and that was pretty much the sole purpose of our project.
What? And I felt like I agree with Richard. Like we had like less than 10 people at least, or at most, I should say, and but like we did have a good time. Like we got in jotted down to games and other whatnots, and it was also fun that we actually got to join into the games too. And but like like just like going into the games, like having fun, just kind of going with the flow. It's fun.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
So going into both events, obviously, like we all had fun. We all had fun, and the guests had fun. Despite the turnout for the second one being like at least like 2/3 that of the first event. I think like it was a bit disheartening to see that we couldn't like get like the turnout we did for the first event, but at the same time the fact that we still got turnout at all was what motivated us to do what we did.
Yeah, I thought like regardless whether we had like a good turnout or not, I feel like it was still good because like what Richard and what you guys were saying, like the sole purpose of it was networking. And I feel like some students were able to network. And I remember speaking to one of the girls that attended, and like I've never met her, and she said she's never been to any of the events before. So it was really nice seeing her there and just kind of like conversing with other students that she wouldn't have had the opportunity to meet if had she not shown up. And so, what do you guys think affected the turnout of the second event?
I would say add the advertising and the promoting of the second event, just because like with the time crunch we didn't really have time to actually advertise as much for the second event. Also, although the location and the time were the same from the first event, the amount of people that were hanging around in the lunchroom or like around the fishbowl area, there weren't as many people as the first during the first event, so it was kind of hard to pull in people and attract people to come and check out our event.
Yeah. And I think not only that, but I think a huge factor that played into the success of the first event were the incentives from the professor, because we were able to really communicate with Professor Pop and tell him like, this is the date of the first event, this is, the time that we're going to be there. So he was able to let his students from his other class know about the event, and I believe he offered extra credit, like, if you guys show up, I'll give you guys extra credit. And I believe his wife, who's also another professor here, she offered extra credit for students to come to our event. So I think that played a huge role, because I believe we probably got like at least 10 students just from those classes for extra credit, whereas in the second event we weren't able to communicate it even to Professor Pop or other professors to see whether they'll offer incentives or not. So I think that really affected the turnout for the second event.
Yeah, and like I remember emailing some of the professors in the communications class, but I didn't get any response back. But yeah, some people did come at least,
Yeah.
So going off of what all of you three mentioned, I think the lack of time in comparison to the first event's preparation time is what sort of not really doomed per se this event, but it was sort of it definitely was one of the downsides to this event, because had we had at least I want to say like 1 or 2 more weeks, we could have gotten the invites out. Like Janessa could have gotten like more people to come, and probably got more responses because a lot of these were last minute. Namely the official documentations that we had to do. There was like an 8-day turnaround for one of them. We were on like the last day we could have turned it in, and we needed all the signatures, and to me, like, we needed at least one more week to prep everything up.
And I think one thing that made it really hard, like had we had like one more week, but I believe the following week was, I think
Thanksgiving.
it was like right before Thanksgiving break, and I think people were having midterms too, versus the first event where it was early in the semester versus the second one, which was like later into the semester. So I think that really played a role into affecting it too. And if we could do something differently for the, like, say if we were to have a third event, would you guys go through the same process that we did for the first and second event, or do you guys think you guys would change the way we did things?
I would say kind of keep it, just because we already know how to approach things. Like if we change something else, I feel like we'd run into another problem we wouldn't know how to face, and it just like take a little more time than usual. But yeah, I would say keep it, just because it's normal to us, or like we already know how to go through it.
That's true.
I actually agree with Richard. Like, with the plan process that we were doing, like, we knew what to do from there. Because if we did anything new, we'd like be drawing a big blank.
Yeah.
I feel like.
If we had to do it a third time, I'd say, well, the meetings we'd obviously have to do. We had to get their approval, but beyond that, in terms of like getting the word out and offering incentives, I think we could afford to be a bit more experimental. Like, ask them for that popcorn machine that they offered us during one of the meetings. Possibly hand out like water at the events. Not really like hand out like food or like salad, because we'd all need serve saves for that, and I'm the only one that has one. But I think if we did a third one, we could afford to be more experimental with that, just so we can get more people in there. We'd also probably better plan out the times for the event, so we wouldn't be like running around in circles, getting everything done last minute.
And I know that we did see some like familiar faces from the first event at our second event, and I felt like a lot of the people who asked us like, oh, is this like a regular thing, or are we having a second event? I didn't see most of them at our second event. So I feel like maybe even for like third, or like for the future events, I feel like having like a mailing list or like a mass text or something would be really helpful, because I mean, nowadays everyone's always on their phone. So kind of just like, hey, if you guys want to know about like future events, just like, give us your phone number or email. And although that's more work on us, but I feel like that's really encompassing like the whole purpose of this event, like networking. So
Right.
like when we do have another event, we can just send out those mass texts and let the students know. That way, like, they know when it is.
Right, right.
But other than that, I feel like the event was successful.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. The fact that we got as many people between both events, like, at all, just says something that, like, we were able to, like, get everyone for that.
Yeah.
Right. Like, as like we were saying, like, it just like felt like, even though we didn't like get out as many people, like, we did get at least some.
Yeah, that's true. Yep. So this wraps up our first segment, and we will be back after the commercial break. Thank you.
College just got affordable. Up to 100% of enrollment fees can be reimbursed for first-time college students taking full-time classes. At Solano Community College, we are taking full advantage of this to further your future. With certificate and degree programs in industrial technology, aeronautics, biotechnology, and many others, Solano Community College is a staple for success. For more information, please contact the Financial Aid Office at 707-864-7000.
So, welcome back. And for our second segment, we will be talking about what we learned from group communication and how we can apply the things that we did learn. So, panel, what did you guys learn from this class and the projects that we had?
What I learned is like again, with everyone has agreements and disagreements with everyone, but we must learn to hear each other out, like so that way we will be able to work together.
Mm-hmm.
And like even though like some points were some successful and some points were not as successful as everyone, but like many people we did work together. But like also another thing is like some may be working a little bit more than others, but like it did work all in all for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And for me personally, I felt like self-esteem, perception, and shared meaning were a big role for me in this project, just because at the beginning of this project, I obviously didn't have a high self-esteem just because I didn't really know you guys. I didn't really how to take my things or like voice out my opinion or voice out my perception on how to take this project. But as like time went by, I was able to build my self-esteem and get, just because I was more comfortable with you guys, and it just led me to be able to say how I perceive things. And then it kind of just led into my perception of me being able to voice it out, and then just bounce around my ideas. It kind of led into like a shared meaning with you guys.
And for me, I know that working in groups is never easy. Like, I feel like no matter how good of the members or how good the members are in your group, there's always going to be some type of conflict or people taking on more work than others. And for me personally, sometimes I felt like I took on a lot of the work. So then I kind of thought like, oh, I don't want to be burdened, or I don't want to like take on a lot of work. So that's when I thought of, oh, maybe we can like for each meeting that we had, maybe someone else can facilitate the meetings. So not only will that take the workload off of myself, but then it will also kind of like let the other person have like a leadership role or learn new leadership skills. So, and when I saw that and when we did apply it, I thought it turned out pretty good because it made the other person or the person who was going to facilitate the meeting have that responsibility of keeping up, like being accountable for what's going on in the group.
So going into like any group in general, I feel like there's a sort of case where like everyone in the group has to up their game in some way. I believe that on some level, the people going into a group kind of assume that they're either going to be the leader or have a high position within the group. And I think one of the parts about being in a group is learning to check that at the door. Likewise, going into a group, if you're chosen as the leader unexpectedly, or in yours case, chosen via like a rotating like table, it's important to step up. And I feel like being in this group, I've learned how to do that, both as like a follower and as a leader during the times I was chosen to head the group. And if I could do this again, I would say that like that is the quintessential reason to be in a group, is to step up.
Because for myself, I'm usually not someone to like step up. I'm just kind of like, go with the flow. Yeah, I'll just do my fair share of the work to complete this goal. But then in this class, I feel like I did have to step up to the plate. And at times it was kind of uncomfortable because I didn't want to step on anyone's toes. But at the same time, it's like, I need to get this done.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to delegate and tell people what to do. But then, I mean, eventually I feel like it was successful.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, just because like our group was able to have successful events,
Mm-hmm.
and like, so I just feel like what brought up another point is that like the conflict resolution chart, it like really did kind of open my eyes to things. So like I first felt like with things, our relationship not being so high with each other, I felt like we just wanted to get things done. It kind of came up to like a compromising, like to like in the middle. But then as we did all get to know each other and get more comfortable, I feel like our relationship got higher. as well as our wanting to do so good on our task, which led to like a collaboration.
And kind of going back to like the group led or the single person facilitating the meeting, what did you guys get out of it?
Well, I felt like I got out of it, like, 'cause, like, for me, like, I'm glad that you guys all included me, especially because it's hard for me to hear most of the time because I am deaf. But like, I'm glad that you guys actually helped me. Like, you guys spoke up for my benefit, and but like, I felt like everyone communicated with each other. I felt it was good.
And then what about you, Richard?
For me, yeah, it kind of helped me get out of like my comfortable shoes. Like like you said, like I'm not really one to delegate or like lead a group, but it did give me like a good experience of like how it is to be a leader, and just have like, it did help build up my self-esteem as well.
Okay. And then the things that you guys did learn from this class and the projects, how do you think you can apply it to your life outside of school?
Well, obviously, as part of a group, like the group project sort of like taught me like, all right, so this is how you are like as part of a group. Here's how you are leading the group. Find a balance between the two, and I feel like I found the balance as both a follower and a leader for the short times I was the leader. Again, it involved stepping up to the plate and sort of checking some things at the door, like bringing some things that normally don't come out during like cases like this, where you're just sort of on your own. But as part of a group, going forward, I can like sort of just like take the leadership skills that you gave me for the time being, and take like check my ego at the door, and just go into any group and just sort of just blend in as best I can and work things out from there.
What about you guys?
For me, I felt like everyone again will have like agreements and disagreements, but like we should each hear each other out for on what your opinion is. But like we may agree to it, we may not, but like you should all hear each other out. That's what I thought I've learned from this.
Same here. I feel like you can just use it in any parts of your life, because whether it's like even for like your family, because as much as you love your family, I feel like sometimes there's like miscommunication within the group. So just kind of like learning what we learned in this class and applying it to like that, or like your job, or even like your friends and stuff. So yeah. So I believe that wraps up our second segment. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great day. Oh my god.
That last, have a great day.
I was like good, but I was like, oh wait, great day.
If you are interested in a career in sports broadcasting,
whether you're commentating a live game
or hosting your own TV show,
or working behind the scenes, then this is the class for you.
For more information, contact Greg Poff, that's me, at solano.edu.
we hope to see you here next semester, and remember,
it's more than just sports, it's an education.
Yeah.